Hello and welcome to GeekVerse Sidequest, your weekly stop for video game news, reviews, and more here on the GeekVerse Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dylan Muss, and today I have a very special guest, David Howe from the Super Switch Headz podcast. It's been a long time coming to have you over here, but
Totally.
thank you for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, I just what have I been doing today? I got some fried chicken.
Oh,
So
nice.
I ate some chicken and waffles earlier. That was a blast. I just bought like a plane ticket. It's like wedding season coming up. So I'm
All right.
figuring out travel shit today. It's been pretty wild.
Nice.
Also,
Cool.
sorry, I hope I can swear on this podcast.
Please, you
Okay, cool.
can, yeah, you can do whatever you need to do.
All
We're
right,
we're
sounds
rated
good.
as explicit on Spotify and all that, so you
There you
can
go.
you can
There
say
you go.
whatever
It
you need to
covers all
say.
your bases.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm really glad to finally have you on Super Switch Heads. So, okay, I listen to, there's a lot of video game podcasts that I have in my rotations, but
Mhm.
there's really only a couple that I listen to like every week, regardless of the topic or whatever. And Switch Heads is one of them. I love your guys'
Oh,
podcast so much. And, I just want to like praise you and your podcast for a little bit here and get
oh,
everyone
thank you.
from the Geekverse to go over and check you guys out because I mean I've guested on there a couple times, but it's not a conflict of interest, I promise. But I mean, you guys have it is Super Switch Head, so it's Nintendo focused. But if there is kind of bigger things in the video game sphere outside of Nintendo, you guys cover that stuff as well. But
Mhm.
I mean, you guys are talking about the new games and doing fun topics, all that I like good stuff. But I think what I uh, really respect, one thing I really like is just the balance you guys have between the three of you. Obviously, you have guests on as well, but between you, Patrick, and Matt, there's just like you guys really cover all the bases of. I find that you, David, you just play everything. Like you play most of the new games, but then it's like you're just playing 100 indie games at any given time, and that's such a valuable like perspective to have because the Switch is like that console. You know, there is
Oh
all sorts
yeah.
of random little games on
And
there,
then
all
you
the pick
throw in
crosses and
like
whatnot.
Game Pass where you're just getting all these free games
Yeah,
basically every week, and it's just like it's too much. Too
yeah,
much. Yeah. But
and,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
it's
then
it's a fun thing to do.
I feel like Matt really fills in the void because I feel like to me he doesn't probably play that much Switch. Like he's mostly playing PlayStation or Xbox stuff, so that's a valuable perspective to have.
He's mostly just playing Halo, let's be
Yeah,
honest.
pretty much.
Yeah.
I've played some Halo with him before. He's
Yeah.
super good. But and
Yeah.
then I mean I think you guys have what I feel like you shouldn't be able to have a Nintendo podcast without this, but you have Patrick who has a young kid who plays games
Yeah.
with him, and that is just the most valuable perspective. And I always find it's interesting
Yeah.
because you know when I was a kid and I didn't have that many games, it's like it's fun to think back on like what were the games that I just kept playing and to hear on your guys' podcast that Patrick's kid just like always wants to play Paper Mario, which was a game that came out and like a week later no one was talking about anymore. I find that so interesting and such a valuable thing to look at in terms of
Yeah.
like what do kids want to play on the Switch these days?
Or like Pikmin 3. He's just like obsessed with
Yeah,
Pikmin 3 and
yeah.
always wants to play it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Uh,
I love having that perspective too, because it's like because when I was a kid, I played video games a lot with my dad on like the Super
mhm.
Nintendo and stuff like that. We played Myst and stuff like that together and shared a lot of gaming moments. And so it's interesting to see it now from like one of my peers who has his own
Yeah,
kid. And yeah, it's just it's a very, very wholesome part of the podcast for sure.
yeah.
I appreciate you saying that stuff, Dylan.
Okay, my last point of praise for this, and then
Okay.
we can move on. Is that I you know I keep up with the Nintendo Directs and whatever like the big news is, but so much like you guys really cover the kind of the rumors, like the leaks, things like
Mhm.
that just go completely over my radar. So it's very informative. Well, like I learn a lot of like okay, what is probably going to happen. You guys are really in the know on. You're following the right people and keep everyone up
Right.
to date on that stuff. So I think that's also very valuable to have.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, the whole reason we started the podcast in the first place, and I'm sure this is true for so many other people with gaming podcasts, is like I just found myself every day going on websites and like soaking up all this
Yeah.
rumor mill shit and then I would just talk about it with my friends because it's the stuff I like. And we were like, okay, well, I mean, we're doing this anyway. Let's at least
Mm-hmm.
record it and be productive with it. And yeah, and it's turned into like a great kind of outlet,
Yeah.
especially over the pandemic. Like, I mean, we started before the pandemic, but it was like totally crucial to have something like that you can kind of escape to every week.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
So yeah, Super Switch Heads, you know, find it on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever it is. And then David, you as well stream on Twitch a lot, twitch.tv/
Mhm.
Monolith Fiji, and that's also your Twitter handle as well. I feel like
That's
you
correct.
stream a lot of Nintendo stuff, but then also you've been doing like Metal Gear lately, right? So kind of
Yeah,
mix it up.
yeah. It's kind of random. Right now, yeah, I'm doing a Metal Gear series stream. So I played Twin Snakes on the GameCube, and then I'm playing through I played through 2 HD and now I'm on 3 HD Snake Eater.
Nice.
And it's my first time playing those games, so it's been a blast. But yeah, it's that and Tetris 99, basically my go-tos.
Yeah. I like watching your F-Zero streams because you're like way better at that game than I am. And
Oh,
I
dude,
found
and
that
I
really helpful.
realized doing those streams, like when randoms would like jump in on NSO and play with me, that would like add my friend code from the stream or whatever. Like I am not as good at that game as I thought I was, even. So there's a
That
whole group
humbling
of people that
moment
know what
that
they're doing.
we've all had in our
Yeah,
competitive games. Yeah. Going to melee tournaments
exactly.
for me was like, oh shit, I suck.
Oh
at this
yeah,
game.
yeah, dude. No, that was a huge come to Jesus moment for me. I thought I was hot shit until I went to some
Yeah.
tournaments and I was like, oh, okay. It's just my
Okay,
friends
so
suck. I guess that's what it is.
yeah, definitely. Those friends are terrible. To get the GeekVerse plugs out of the way, join our. Oh, also, I want to show that you guys have a great Discord server. Like, it's a really fun place to hang out, and you have all the Nintendo servers, your channels. You also have like Xbox, PlayStation, stuff like that.
Mhm.
But really good community, and I
Yeah.
personally like hanging out there and just talking to people about games. So
Yeah,
that as well.
Rapatika.
I hope that our I hope that our Discord, GeekVerse Discord, can kind of mirror yours in ways because you guys have so many people on there. It's always bumping. Our Discord it's small, it's strong though. So
Yeah,
I want to go check that out. Subscribe to the Sidequest feed to get the video game focused content. So join our Patreon to get episodes early and ad free. The Twitters, the Facebooks, all that. Thank you to Amanda who does the music for the show, and then Taylor who does the thumbnails. And then next week episode, I'm gonna be joined by Kirklin. We're gonna be talking about Trek to Yomi, which is another game coming to Game Pass. Looks pretty cool. And Dune Spice Wars, which is in early access now. I've played a little bit of it. I won't talk about it this week, but next week those are kind of our main topics. So if
Can
anyone
you give me
has
a little hint? You liking it?
I'm liking it so far. I've played a couple
Yeah.
hours and I'm digging it. But yeah, we're gonna dive deeper into that one next week.
Cool.
And then we're also reviewing the Halo TV show every week. So check that stuff out as well. That's kind of what's happening over on Geekverse. But yeah, with that said, let's get into it. So yeah, our main topic today is Nintendo Switch Sports, which just launched. But we're gonna work our way there. And first, I kind of wanted to just do a temperature check with you on Nintendo in 2022, both like so far, but also the rest of the year because there's some stuff coming up soon. And yeah, so what do you think so far? Like, has there been any games this year? Like, I think maybe Kirby is the big one that most people played. I guess is that kind of the biggest Nintendo game so far for you this year?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it has been pretty popping. I think like honestly, I was really looking forward to Switch Sports. Right. So I'm that was a big release for me this year. Right. I've always said that Nintendo what I kind of wish they had done is just kind of done a double pack of Resort and the original Wii Sports and just called it Me Sports, right?
Yeah.
Because I love the Mii's, and I kind of was thinking that would be a good way for them to do it. But just making a whole new game, that's cool too. So that's pretty hype for me. I think Kirby was a fantastic game. I really enjoyed playing through that. I actually just beat that the other day.
Nice.
And then like the real final boss or whatever. And then what else? I mean, we had Legends Arceus as well this year, right? And that was, I think like people already kind of forget that game came out this year because it was at the very beginning of the year. And then we've got Scarlet and Violet coming out later this year. So it kind of took the wind out of that sales. But I mean, let's not forget, like when Arceus came out, everybody was like, is this the best Pokemon game ever made?
I still see people like streaming it. It seems like it still has captured people. I mean, I think Pokemon games always do that with the people who are into the shiny hunting and whatnot. Those like that keeps people for months and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It did kind of come and go, but I think it was just that it came out at the end of January and then February was huge and then March was huge in terms of game releases. So I think it was just hard to keep up with that rate. But I think it kept people's attention for a couple weeks at least. But you're right. I think the announcement of the next generation and being the next mainline game is what people are more interested in now, talking about those starters and whatnot.
Right. And the new game seems like it's more open world than this one even was. So it's kind of like, I felt a little bamboozled, to be honest. It's like, because, I love the game, but it was almost like irrelevant with this new game coming out. But I still think like, if we didn't know it was coming out at the end of this year, that would have been, I think, in a lot of people's game of the year conversations.
Right.
And so I think it's been a pretty good year so far. I think as far as the rest of the year goes, like we've still got a lot to look forward to, right? And I think that we've got, whatever. I think E3 notwithstanding, there's not really going to be an E3 this year, but I do think Nintendo's still going to do like a June Direct. And
I think so, yeah.
I think it's like around that time when we really find out what the big holiday games are going to be for the year, right? I think there's a lot coming that we don't even know if it exists or not, right?
Yeah, I guess the latest thing in the year is now Splatoon 3 that we know
I guess
about.
so, yeah. But that's dated, right?
Yeah.
I think we know Bayonetta's coming. And actually no, I would say Scarlet and Violet, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
that's coming in November, I think we know. Or they said holiday maybe.
Yeah. So I guess
But
that's kind of like they could get away with just doing that. Like I don't know
yeah.
if they need another big game, so to speak. I mean, I think I would like to see a couple more just because some of the like really for me, you know, looking ahead to June, like Mario Strikers,
Mhm.
over here on the Geekverse, we're massive Mario Strikers fans, so
Yeah.
we're all very excited about that. And to me, that's kind of like my most anticipated Nintendo game, or for the rest of the year at least.
Mhm.
Where I'm curious where you are on Splatoon. Like where are you at for Splatoon 3? Is that like are you
I'm
super hyped
hyped.
for that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big Splatoon fan. I think Splatoon is like such a great fucking game, and it's so cool, right? It's like I feel like the Splatoon series is like one of the coolest game series Nintendo has, right? I think just like the style is
Mm-hmm.
so great and the gameplay is so fun, and it's like I always forget how good Splatoon is every time I play Splatoon 2. I'm
Right.
like, man, I'm just having so much fun. And I don't even do ranked or anything like that. I just play turf war, and I
Yeah.
just enjoy, all pretty much the majority of the hours I put into that game are in turf war,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Nice.
Um, but yeah, so I'm really pumped for Splatoon 3 just to have like Splatfests again. I'm really hoping that we can get some fixes to just the online matchmaking and stuff like that. Like now I feel like Splatoon 2 was kind of rushed a bit.
Oh
I think
yeah.
it was originally meant to be another Wii U game, and then it was like the
Huh.
Wii U kind of floundered, and so then they're like, all right, well, let's move everything over to the Switch. We don't really have time to change up too much stuff, right? And so hopefully now, excuse me, that this is the second Splatoon on the same system, we can get some good kind of quality of life fixes that a lot of people have been asking for now for like almost 10 years
Yeah,
between
I
the
feel like
first Splatoon and this
Splatoon
one.
2 received updates and yeah, these Splatfests and stuff for a very long time, like up until recently. And
Mm-hmm.
I even see just on like Nintendo's Twitter, they're always pimping all these tournaments that they're doing, which I don't
Yeah.
know if people care about the Nintendo tournaments for Splatoon the same way people don't really care about the Nintendo tournaments that they do for Smash. Like more,
Yeah.
it's the individual like tournament organizers that are actually hosting things that matter. But at least from Nintendo's perspective, it seems like they really care about this franchise a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it kind of got delayed to September. I don't know if they had a date, but I think people, or they said it was summer, and now it's like September, which I know
Yeah.
Japan's kind of weird about like what they consider summer sometimes as well.
I mean, I
So
think
the
even
best part
here,
of
I
it.
think it's still early September, right? So I think it still is
Yeah, it's
technically
close enough.
summer, but it's like, but it's obvious that that's what happened, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if they hadn't just moved forward the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 release date, then I think there could have been more of a conversation on whether or
Yeah,
not this was
definitely.
always going to be there. But I think clearly what happened was like Xenoblade was ready to go, and Splatoon needed some more time
Yeah,
in
the
the
old
oven, and so
reverse delay of
they just flipped them, right? And
yeah.
so I think either way, I'm a little bummed. I kind of wish that it had been earlier in the summer. I think especially a lot of kids really like this game. It's huge in
Mm-hmm.
Japan, right? So I think it would have been great for them to have the game to play over summer. But for me, I'm fine. Take as much time as you need. Nintendo's kind of been in a bit of a mode recently where they release unfinished games and finish them later. I think we actually did an episode on that
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
you, Dylan, on our show, and I think that we've been seeing a lot more of that. And we'll probably get to some of that with Switch Sports as well, because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there's elements of that there that they haven't really
Sure.
been clear about.
Yeah.
But no, I'm super excited for Splatoon 3. I think it looks great. Um, they did. There have been a lot of delays out of the year, though. I think
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that anybody was really expecting Breath of the Wild 2 to come out this year, but that
Yeah.
being officially delayed to 2023
That is a
was
big deal for
disappointing
sure.
nonetheless. The Mario movie, I don't know if we're counting that for Nintendo's
That's
output,
something. Yeah.
but yeah, that's now April of next year. So
What do you think about Bayonetta 3? Like we finally got that announcement and they dropped a 2022 on it. And then once again, it's gone back into the depths and it's hidden in silence again. Like,
yeah,
what is going on with that? Do you expect that to come out this year? Because,
I do.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
weird one because I don't know if it's really that big game that captures everyone. It's always seemed like a bit of a more niche title, even
Yeah.
if it's got really good reviews and people love it. I don't know if it's the on comparing to Zelda or Mario. Obviously, it's not going to be
Yeah,
on
I
that
mean, it's
level,
not
but
even in the same echelon, but I think like what they can reasonably expect is I think they can expect around like 1 million sales for that game at least, right? I think that's about what Astral Chain did, and that's a new IP, right? And
sure.
Bayonetta has a lot more kind of, just got a bigger fan base, right? It's been around
Yeah.
for longer, it's a part of a franchise. But I mean, that game, we heard nothing for a very long time. And
Mm-hmm.
so the fact that they put out a trailer, I think it was earlier this year, right? Was it the February Direct where they showed it off? I think so. Maybe the January,
Yeah, I think
February
it
Direct.
was. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think them saying at the beginning of the year 2022, after hearing nothing for so long, makes me feel that they're pretty confident about it. And I mean, I think everybody's saying this, but I'd imagine that's like an October release. That's what feels right to me anyway.
And
And
that's a pretty
then,
good row of things. If you have Splatoon into Bayonetta into Pokemon, like that's a pretty solid fall season.
yeah, and I mean, and that's not it. I think it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that Nintendo could rest on their laurels of just having Pokemon be the holiday game and that's it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I don't think that they're gonna do that. I think that the Pokemon Company is kind of its own thing, right? And they kind of do their own release schedules that have to do with timing stuff out with the anime and merchandising and all that shit. And so it's like, I think that's just like a plus for them. But I do think, these new Pokemon games are going to sell like 18 million copies, I bet, in the first couple months. So, they always do stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm really curious too because there's been a lot of rumors that a lot of these come from listening to your podcast about Fire Emblem. Obviously, we got
Yeah.
Three Hopes, which
Right.
unfortunately I don't care at all about.
I don't care at all about that. Yeah.
But there's been
people
talks
do though. People are excited.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, there is the Dynasty Warriors fans out there, but yeah, I think Fire Emblem. I'm really curious. I feel like for a while there, they were doing the thing where they would have a remake and like a pretty substantial remake. Like they'd really go hard on like doing new graphics and all this stuff on the 3DS era Fire Emblem stuff, and then they kind of went away from that. And I wonder if they're going to continue that. I think part of it was sales, perhaps on a couple like on Shadows of Valencia, right? That game didn't have like the greatest sales necessarily, but I'm curious what Fire Emblem's going to do if it's like that true sequel, or I think it would be good if there was kind of that half step kind of remake of an older game. There's still so many games that haven't like officially been localized in English, so I think there's a lot of room for them to keep bringing those back and update them like they did that previous game on the 3DS. Do you think you see that coming out this year? I mean, that's still once again just rumors. Like,
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I think that because I mean, before when the last direct started and we saw that kind of Fire Emblem, we saw like the Fire Emblem characters, and then within like 5 seconds, they were like, all right, we don't want to get people's hopes up. We're going to say it's a Warriors game right away, right? But it's like, I think that if we hadn't seen that, I would have said it's a lock. But everything I'm hearing from insiders and, leakers and people that kind of know what's going on at Nintendo right now is that like, I guess they're calling them echoes, Fire Emblem Echoes.
Yeah,
Whatever.
which technically I guess
like
they only did that once, but then they also did I think it was called Shadow Dragon, which was a remake of the first Fire Emblem on that was on DS.
DS, I think.
Yeah, not even 3DS. Yeah. So that was a while ago too. So I guess they've done it a couple times at this point.
Yeah, I think I think that it's possible that it comes out this year, but I don't think they need it. And I think part of that is because Advance Wars got delayed. They stopped because the whole Ukraine war right now with Russia, and so it's like, I think especially if they do end up redating that for 2022, there's already so many tactical RPGs lined up that are still coming for the rest of the year. But I think, I don't think we see Advance Wars say come out at the end of September or sometime in October or even December or something like that, and then also see another tactical Fire Emblem game come out around the same time. I think it's just, even if they're done with it, like even if they've got it in the can, Nintendo is known to just sit on stuff until it's ready to release.
And a Fire Emblem remake, like that's totally okay to just sit on that until it's ready to go, or until they need something to release.
Totally.
So I could see
fill out that like early next year schedule maybe. But
I really I don't know if I'm gonna pick up Advance Wars. It's just such an expensive price tag, and I'd honestly rather go back to the Game Boy versions. I
Yeah.
haven't
It's a full
played that
60,
game,
right?
but yeah, it is. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's tricky. I do see that releasing this year. It's hard to know like what their strategy is. Like I don't think they know at this point either, right? They're just kind of waiting to see how things go.
Hmm.
But I think I hope that comes out this year. There's a lot of fans for that as well. And then yeah, if they are planning on doing Fire Emblem, I think you want to give some space between the tactical RPGs. I know they just released Triangle Strategy as well, which I love that game. So
Hmm.
offer a little bit more space as well. Like
Yeah.
they can do that. So
I know one of the ones I'm really looking forward to is Live Alive. I'm
yeah,
definitely
I
gonna be
think
picking that
that's
up.
behind Strikers. Like that's actually my most anticipated. It looks
Yeah.
so good. I'm really
I
excited to
I
check that
didn't
out.
pick up Triangle Strategy just because aesthetically and gameplay wise, it didn't really seem like my bag. And I
Mm-hmm.
have issues with RPGs anyway, right? Long
Yeah.
games. I've got a low attention span. But Live Alive, I mean, that's a game that I played fan translations of that when I was a
Cool.
kid, and
Yeah.
and so it's like revisiting that with an official translation from Square. I think that's really awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely be picking that one up.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing, I think you guys talked about this on your most recent episodes in the last couple weeks, was kind of these more rumors swirling of Game Boy, Game Boy Advance coming to
Hmm.
the Nintendo Online system, which I know that's a bit different, but it's still like a big thing for them to release and push in the year as well. So if you figure they're gonna release that sometime in the fall, I think that's another good thing to pick up a bunch of people. And personally, I'm really excited for that. I love Game Boy Advance, one of my
Yeah.
very favorite consoles, handhelds, all that. So
I think
yeah,
we're going to continue to see value added to that
mm,
expansion pack,
yeah,
right? I think like in a lot of different ways. I think we'll see more systems.
hmm
We just got the Splatoon 2 DLC added to that.
right,
I
yeah, they
wouldn't
just did that, yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if we got Mario Odyssey DLC finally and like added to
yeah,
that, right?
they could do
It's
that.
like, now we get Mario Kart, a 2017 Switch game getting
hmm
DLC all of a sudden. I think that we might see more stuff like that
Yeah.
might be a little bit surprising.
Do you think? Because I think the Game Boy Advance is, even if it doesn't happen this year, I think it's inevitable. Like it seems like the next most logical system for them to add to that service. Where do you what do you where do you set your expectations for that? 'Cause I feel like for me, N64, I understand these games are bigger and more intensive or something like this, but I still felt like I was a bit underwhelmed by how many games they had at launch. And
Hmm.
once again, they're just releasing them very slowly, adding new stuff.
Yeah, one
Uh,
a month, right?
is that what they're?
It's
Is
been
that what they've
about
said?
that. I think like
Okay.
I think the first month they skipped, so it was like I think it was 9 in that pack originally, or maybe it was
Yeah,
even
something like
6,
that.
7. I don't know, but anyway, it was like the first month after it was out, there was nothing because they're
Mhm.
like, "You got a bunch of games, don't
Yeah, yeah.
complain." But then it was like a pretty steady drip, you know what I mean? But it was never like, "Here's our roadmap." It was just
hmm
like, "Oh, this is happening to be like every month, right?" And I think we've got, what do we have? We have Pokemon Snap
Yeah, I'm
and
excited for that.
Kirby, the Crystal Shards still to come, but then we know nothing past that.
hmm
I do think it's possible we'll get more N64 games, but I've been kind of like setting my expectations to that's all we're gonna get. The stuff they've already said we're
Yeah.
gonna get. Um, I think we've been hearing a lot of stuff even before this recent Game Boy Advance. Like was it Sloop? I think they or what was it? I think it was Sloop, right? Is what they called the emulator that leaked on
Oh,
4chan
yeah.
for
I'm
the
not
Game Boy
sure.
Advance
Yeah.
stuff. Um, before that, we were hearing tons about Game Boy Color, right?
hmm
I think like that. I think we're pretty safe to say will probably come out this year. At least that would be my expectation. Game Boy Advance, we'll see. Because it's like the emulator that leaked, the Game Boy Advance emulator, was from like a 2020 build. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So it's like it's
Yeah.
now 2022. They've been sitting on it for a while, right? And so it's like I don't know. We'll see. I don't think you can ever really expect anything from Nintendo, right? I
That's
think to expect anything from Nintendo, you're going to set yourself up for
I know.
disappointment.
That's why I said that with like holding back a bit. But
Yeah,
I'm a big.
yeah,
I've been playing Golden Sun on Game Boy Advance lately. I'm always just thinking about Game Boy Advance stuff. So
yeah. I mean,
I
at the
hope
end
that
of the
comes.
day, dude, I've got emulators. I've got,
Yeah,
once they
I don't
become
usually turn
available,
to
I'll play
emulators.
them on
That's why
there.
I think I get a bit more excited for like official releases in some way. And I think just the ease of ease of use is another thing too.
Oh,
But I'm
yeah.
also still like going to retro stores looking for Game Boy Advance cartridges. So I don't really
Oh,
need
really?
I don't really need this, but there's a few games that are really hard to find or are very expensive that I would love to have an easier way to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
once my Steam Deck comes in, this will all be irrelevant.
yeah. Yeah, just go buy the competitor's
Yeah.
device and you're good to go.
I'm looking forward to that one, man.
Yeah.
That's my most anticipated thing of 2022, if
Hmm.
I'm honest.
Yeah, I think that was more or less what I wanted to cover here. So let's take a quick break and we'll come back and talk about some of the games that we've been playing.
Sounds good.
All right. And we're back. David, how about you go first? What have you been playing? Well, obviously, Switch Sports will leave for the next segment of the show, but
Sure.
what have you
Yeah.
been jamming other than that?
I've been playing a lot, man. I'm actually pulling up my Switch here so I can remember everything, right?
Nice.
I'm playing a lot of Chrono Cross. I'm a big Chrono Cross fan. Excuse me. I played through on Twitch actually Radical Dreamers, which is like
Nice.
the text-based adventure
Right,
that's in
right.
there. That was kind of fun to stream because it was like I just like narrated the whole thing like it was an audiobook. And that was really fun
How
to
long
do.
is
I
that?
did all the voices and everything. I did it over 2 streams, so it was about like maybe 3.5, 4 hours,
Okay.
something like that. But I'm also like reading the whole thing out loud,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it's
that's
like
a lot of
taking a
reading.
bit more time. Yeah, I will never do a stream like that again, for the record, unless I'm getting paid. Because I was just like exhausted at the end of
Yeah.
that. But that was a blast. I never played that game before, and it was a cool little bit of a Chrono lore.
Hmm.
What else? If you want to get real obscure, I
I do.
actually bought. So I went onto PlayAsia.com and I bought a Japanese eShop card. It was like 5,000 yen or something like that. Because I've been really looking forward to Pocky and Rocky Reshrined, which
Okay.
is it's like a remake of the Super Nintendo Pocky and Rocky game, made by Natsume, and it's coming out in the West, but it's coming out in like June. But it's already been out for a while, or actually just like about a week in Japan.
Mm.
And the Japanese version has English built in it, right? So I was
Right.
like, you know what? I really just kind of want to play this game now. So I actually picked that up. And so I downloaded the Japanese version of that. I'm only a little bit into it, but I'm really enjoying it. I like those kinds of games.
Cool.
I bought I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I bought this game called Tetris Diamond G series, I believe. Let me see if I can pull it up. But it's basically there's a whole G mode is what it is.
G mode.
There's a whole here we go. There's a little bit right there. It is quite literally, because I'm a huge Tetris freak. It is
Yeah.
quite literally a Switch port of a Japanese cell phone version of Tetris. And
Wow.
so I've been playing that one because I guess that's just in character for me, and I just
Yeah.
have become a parody of myself.
You have to play
Uh,
every version of Tetris and every version of Picross
Yeah.
to be satisfied as a human.
Oh yeah. I'm not even gonna mention Picross because I've been playing the shit out of Picross too.
I downloaded Pokemon Picross after your guys' 3DS episode. I've been
Oh really?
jamming that a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Yeah. It's a great little free game.
Yeah.
And then what else? So yeah, obviously a lot of Picross, some Tetris 99, and then this, I do play bigger games as well. Like I said, I've been playing Snake Eater for the first time. It's my first
Mhm.
playthrough of Metal Gear Solid 3. Really enjoying it. But I've been I'm really obsessed with Wordle. I play Wordle like
Mhm.
every day. I don't know if you play Wordle, but it's
I
it's a
did
fucking
for a bit.
blast.
I'm done
Yeah,
now,
so
but I was
I
there.
got to 100 streak on Wordle, and I'm still undefeated on Wordle. I've yet to lose.
Damn.
And so there's actually a version of Wordle on the Switch
Mm.
that was released. It's by the same developers who did the game Love. I don't know if you've ever played that. It's like a very cheap little precision. It's like a cheap, short precision platformer that's really fun. And so this guy, his name is Fred, put out a Wordle clone called Words with Freds. And it's only 99 cents, or it's like $1. But then if you own Love already, which is similarly very cheap, it's just free because it's by the same guy. It's kind of a promotional thing.
Cool.
And dude, this game is way more fun than it has any right to be. I'm addicted to it. And it's like, and not only is it fun to play on my own, because it's like Wordle, when you play Wordle on your phone, it's like you do the puzzle, and then like that's your puzzle for the day, and you beat it,
Mhm.
you feel good for the day, and then at midnight or whatever you go and check out the next puzzle, right? Or like whenever you wake up the next day, right? But in this one, it's
Yeah,
just
I don't
like
know
you
if I'm waiting.
finish.
I don't know if I'm staying up till midnight to make sure I hit that new game. I think I'm just
Well,
waiting. I play it in the
I
morning.
just stay up. I'm
personally.
a night owl, so that's just when I tend to play Wordle.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's just like endless, right? So it's like really addicting to just like do one more puzzle, right? Especially
Mm.
when you like get really close on them. And then also it's like way more fun to play on a TV with people in a room than I was anticipating. Like group Wordle is actually a ton of fun. Really, it's words with friends, right?
Right. Right.
But I'm really surprised by the amount of I know this is so lame that I'm just talking about Wordle as the game I've been playing, but it's like, but it I'm really surprised by the amount of like post-release patches this thing has gotten. Like
Mm.
when it released, it was super bare bones. It was like just a Wordle clone. It barely had any like button control configs or anything like that. And since then, they've added music. They've added like all these different color schemes and backgrounds and like all these control options and shit like that. Now it like tracks your scores and your playtime and all this stuff. So I'm like, damn, dude, for a $1 game, that's just a ripoff of Wordle. Like they actually put a lot of work into this thing, and so I just wanted to give them a shout
Pretty
out.
bold to release a game without music, like intentionally, and then like patch it in as if it was like, oh, we just didn't really get
It's
to
a
that
feature.
pre-launch.
Yeah. As post release.
Imagine if Nintendo
post-release
started
patch.
doing that, where like the new Mario Golf like doesn't have music at launch.
That would not surprise me at this point, dude. If I'm honest, yeah. It's like there's one song. I mean that's more Sonic Origins than anything else. But
I hope they
yeah.
don't go off that deep end. That would be too
Yeah,
much.
right. I have been playing a good amount more of Sonic Mania since that Sonic Origins announcement because I'm pretty excited about that coming out.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. So actually, speaking of word games, I wanted to shout out Not Words. Have you heard of Not Words? This is like kind of been. It just came out like a week ago or something like this.
Is that? Did you?
I think I
was
saw someone
our
in your Discord talking about it. Yeah.
It's like an iPhone game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't. I have an Android first of all, so I don't know if there's an Android.
Well, I'm on Android, so you can play it on
Okay.
there as well.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, it's from Zach Gage, and I don't know the other developer's name, but he's like, he just has like this. I don't know how to say it, but he just makes like he just steals other games essentially, but then makes them interesting in totally new ways. Like he made Solitaire, Flip Flop Solitaire, which is just like a really fun version of Solitaire. Or he like made chess, but it was like just this other version of chess. So essentially, this game it's like a crossword puzzle, except instead of clues for like okay, one down, here's some clue. It's just all the squares are there and the letters. You have like little blocks of letters and you're just having to figure out what the words are. So it's a crossword puzzle without the clues, I guess, or a different method of how clues are in there.
Right.
But it's
reminds
really,
me of Picross a little bit how you're describing it.
yeah, it's definitely got some energy of that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool so far. It's definitely got the daily challenge aspect of it as well. I will say I feel like the one yesterday took me like 40 minutes, and the one today I opened it and it's like a fucking huge crossword puzzle. I'm like, this is not like I'm looking for a daily thing that takes at most 10-15 minutes. Like you can't have me for an hour a day, man. That's a bit too much. So I don't know if they keep like ratcheting up the difficulty. I don't know if I'll be playing it on a daily basis, but it still is a fun like simple word game, and like the music is really bumping. It's got great presentation and all that.
That's clutch.
I had to shout that one out.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah,
I'm
it had
gonna check
music
that
at
out right
launch.
now,
It didn't have to patch that in, so it's a legit game.
Very good. That's a AAA game. I think that's how you know it's a AAA game.
Exactly. Yeah. I probably wouldn't normally shout this out, but because specifically you're here with me this week, I wanted to shout out Spelunky 2. I mean, I'm always playing this game. Like I would if I talked about all the games I was playing every week, I would always talk about Spelunky 2, but I'm not going to do that every week. But I wanted to shout out that the game came to Xbox like a couple months ago, and it's on Game Pass. So if anyone hasn't played it yet, please go over there and check it out. But I just got all of the achievements on the Xbox version of the game, so I did all the 100% completion in it. So now I have 100% completion on the Xbox version, the Steam version, the Switch version, and the PlayStation version. All the trophies, all the achievements. I've done it all.
What a badass.
It feels great. I just love this game so much. And the achievement list is so good. That's why I keep doing it over and over again. It's fun to go for the speedrun challenge or the big money challenge and no gold challenge, things like this. So I had to brag a little bit about my Spelunky
very good.
fandom.
Yeah, no, I'm nowhere near that point on Spelunky 2. I've admittedly fallen off a little bit recently, but I do love Spelunky 2. I mean, Spelunky 2 is one of the finest video games ever created in
I
my
agree.
opinion. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. And you know, and I'm a big Binding of Isaac guy as well. And I've 100% of that on PC and on Switch, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not the newest version. Still working my way through that. But I totally get that. It's like you reach a point on roguelikes where you're like, okay, I've kind of tapped this game out for as much as I can do, so I just gotta start the fucking thing over.
Yeah.
So I totally feel you on that, man.
Yeah, we've played some Spelunky 2 online. That's fun. We should do that again. It's been a few months, but
yeah. You can hold my hand through
I think,
some of the later stages.
I think it has full crossplay now. I think that's finally like in there. Like I think PlayStation took a while to get involved, but now you can play across all these platforms with each other. So that's pretty cool. In the roguelike train of thought, I've been playing Rogue Legacy 2, which just left early access after about a year and a half, I think, on Steam. So that's fun to finally have the full release of that game. Did you ever play the first Rogue Legacy? Because I think that was one of the first big roguelikes when that was becoming a really popular genre.
Yeah, it was kind of the first like Roguevania, I think you could call it, right?
Sure,
like,
yeah.
It kind of plays like a Metroidvania. It's that side-scrolling kind of sword play or whip kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I liked it. It never like hooked me like Isaac or Spelunky, right? Like
I put it in a tier below that, and like Into the Breach and stuff are kind of in their S tier, and I definitely put Rogue Legacy down there in that second tier because it is still super solid. But yeah, it hasn't grabbed me the same way those other games have. But Rogue Legacy 2 is really good so far. Like just the minute-to-minute gameplay feels really good. I think they added a lot of movement options to the game. Like they added the classic air dash and just like, what is the Shovel Knight thing where you could like hit something and bounce off of it and keep jumping around?
Yeah.
So I feel like they just made the game more of a because before it felt like really just a combat game in that Castlevania thing, and now it feels like they really anteed up the platforming aspect of it. So it's just a lot more fun to move around and things like that. So I think that's one of the big changes. And the other change would be that they added classes to it. Like I think the first game might have had a simple version of that, but you were pretty much always playing like the same basic character that had these, you know, different abilities or you know, detriments usually is what it was. But they've really like harnessed that version, and there's like at least like 10 different classes you play that all feel very different in the play style. Like there's a couple ranged classes, there's close ones, there's kind of ones that have more of a weird and more gimmicky style. And so adding that variety on top of what already is the variety of like Rogue Legacy, you're kind of the legacy part of it is that you're playing whenever you die, you play as like the offspring of the character before, and they all have like different stuff.
Yeah, that's the stuff that actually carries through run to run, right? Yeah,
like you have some progression, but then like each character has their own gimmick. So like I don't know, they've added some fun stuff. Like one of the characters has like a peace sign as his weapon, like it's just like a protester peace sign. And I was like, I wonder what that is. And the hook of it is that like you just can't do damage. Like with this character, you cannot deal damage to any enemies. That was a fun run of like, okay, what can I achieve in this? I can try and go get some money, but I can't fight anyone. Or you know, you just get crazy weapons, or certain characters make like their vision is really bad, so everything they see is like pixelated, which is cool.
Right.
You can't see your health bar, different stuff like that. And it makes it really fun to kind of strategize around, and you can make some like crazy builds in this game that I don't remember having access to in the first game. And the game is like fucking hard, which I know roguelikes are, but I feel like they simmered off a bit in difficulty over the years, but Rogue Legacy 2 is like, no, this game is super hard again. It's going to take you 15 tries to kill that first boss. So.
I think that the first game was on the easier side as far as roguelikes are concerned as well, I think.
I remember some of the boss fights being like really difficult, but maybe the minute-to-minute gameplay wasn't too bad.
Right, that's kind of what I'm more thinking of, but I think it's nice to hear that game has improved a lot, because, you know, there have been a lot of Metroidvania style roguelikes since then. So there's a lot they could have learned from like Dead Cells and games like that. So it's nice to see that it's been evolving, and the sequel packs a lot in.
And visually, it looks great. I think the first game was kind of pixel art, I believe, but now it's kind of more hand drawn stuff, and it has this like Futurama like 3D element to it. You know, like Futurama, like sometimes in the plane when the ship's flying around, it has like this weird 3D effect to it. Like there's stuff like that for certain enemies in this game that looks really cool, and like the aesthetic and color scheme actually reminds me a lot of Futurama, so it kind of gives off those vibes in the best way possible.
I work in animation, and we do a lot of 2D animation at my job, and I'll tell you, vehicles are like so hard to do in 2D animation. It's like pretty much anytime you're watching a 2D animated show and then there's a vehicle, it's like, all right, fuck it. We're just going to do that one 3D and just cell shade it and make it look like it's
I
animated.
didn't know that that's the reason why. That's so cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, because it's, a lot of it's like perspective shifting, right?
Sure.
It's like when it's just a person, you can just kind of like have them be at one angle. But if it's like, vehicles going by the camera, you'd have to animate it at all these different angles, right?
Right.
So it just makes more sense to just have a 3D model and kind of call it a day.
That's hilarious. Cool.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Something you'll always notice now if you're watching cartoons. But yeah,
that's a fun
it's pretty
fact.
funny. Yeah.
And then the last game I wanted to shout out is another game that just left early access on Steam. It's called Dorfromantik. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a strange little game, but it's essentially a kind of chill, simple city builder. I like these recently. I think when I was on Switch Headz, I talked about Islanders, which is one that just came to Switch.
That was a really cheap one, right? It's like only a couple bucks. Yeah.
And this game is like that as well. I think it's like $10-12. And yeah, very simplistic. It's very much like Carcassonne, if you've ever played that board game, which also there's digital versions of it. But it's really satisfying just like placing little, whether it's like, this tile has just grass on one side, trees on the other, farm on this side. And you have to kind of piece them together. And then you'll get quests to, have a certain amount of houses connecting to each other, but then you have to close them off. It's just very peaceful. Music's very chill. I really like the minimalist art style. It works for it. And it's one of the games that I just booted up. I was like, okay, I'm going to check this out for 20-30 minutes. And it was like 3 hours had passed, and I just built this massive city, and I just couldn't put it down.
You're like, I'm God.
Yeah. And, the other thing that stands out to me is that there is a lot of different modes in it. Like, I feel like these games usually don't have different modes. Like, it's kind of just, here's your one mode, keep try and go through. But there's a hard mode, there's I think an easy mode as well, there's custom settings, and I think there is like not a daily challenge, but there's like a monthly challenge, so you can compete against people as you're building up this one city over the course of a month, I suppose. And really, really cool game. I definitely highly recommend it. Really, really fun.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
So yeah, those are the games I wanted to shout out, and I think with that we can kind of get into Switch Sports. So let's take another ad break. We'll come back and we'll dive into this hot new Nintendo game. Okay, and we are back. Nintendo Switch Sports is the next game in the Wii Sports franchise series, whatever you want to call it.
Wii Sports 4 is what I like to call it.
I like that. That. Nintendo Switch Sports is a mouthful, so yeah, I feel like
name.
Switch Sports is a much easier thing to say, so we'll probably revert to that.
and I understand Wii Sports 4 is an extra syllable, and so people don't want to call it that. But I do like calling it that because everybody forgets that Wii Sports Club was a thing on the Wii U, right? That was really Wii Sports 3. So it's nice to see that even Nintendo is referring to it as the next game in the Wii Sports franchise, right?
Right. Do they is Wii Fit in that series, or do you think that's different?
I mean, there's a whole Wii series, right? I mean, there's like Wii Play, Wii Music, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You could kind of maybe call all those like they're in the same series,
specifically the Wii Sports series.
Yeah, that's how they referred to it in the Direct, right? They're like the newest entry in the Wii Sports series, right? Yeah.
So I guess one thing to shout out right off the top is that the original Wii Sports was a pack-in game with the Wii, so people don't think about that as it not really having a price tag, or obviously it does because you have to buy a $300 console, whatever it is, to get it.
Yeah.
This game, obviously, they're not going to just give it away for free, but it is on the cheaper side for Nintendo stuff. I think it's around like a 60% of the cost of a regular third party or AAA Nintendo game. So it's not quite 50%, but like just above that.
Yeah, it's $40 as opposed to $60, which a lot of the first party games go for.
So
and that's US dollars.
That's why, as a Canadian, I was trying to find some percentage that would work.
Here, let me just make this all about the USA, okay?
Bring out the spreadsheets. Let's do this. So there are 6 sports in this game. Before we talk about individual sports, I just want to find out, like, what do you think about this game and the vibe of it overall? Because they've really... Like they set up this world this time that reminds me of like what I picture like Google headquarters is like, where it's just this like fantasy oasis where everyone's just happy and hanging out and playing sports and they're
everybody looks
on their
the
breaks.
exact same.
Yeah, they all look like Pokemon characters and like. So what do you think when you jumped in? Like how does it hit you? Feel good?
I mean,
so
the
far?
vibe is like it's a little weird, right? I mean, I live in Austin, Texas, and Austin is a city that is, it's one of the fastest growing cities. It's been one of the fastest growing cities in the US now for like a decade, right? Or
Nice.
longer. And so, I mean, it's good in some ways and not so good in others,
Right.
right? And I think one of the ways that it's kind of annoying is you start to see a lot of these developments popping up that are like kind of all in one shopping centers with like kind of condominiums and like recreation and parks and stuff, and it's all kind of like it's all kind of made to where like families can just like stay there and never leave.
Yeah, a little
just,
bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, constantly. It's like consumerist like little paradises, right? Like that they're trying to create. That's what Spoko Square reminds me of in Switch Sports, right? So I kind of like to a certain extent like already resent it. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, it's a little like strange, but I think I mean the vibe though is definitely chill, and it's like I like that, all that stuff that my personal standing with that kind of environment notwithstanding, I think that it's like, it's definitely got like a fun vibe. I like that you have people in the background just like sipping a latte and watching you play tennis.
Yeah. All these
like,
hipsters. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or yuppies or something, right? They're all like, and it's like, and I do like that it's all kind of a consistent world too.
Yeah.
Like the kind of overhead view of, okay, well, here's the place where you play bowling, and here's the place where you blah 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 blah, right? And aesthetically, I mean, I don't hate the sports mates. I'm, like I said, I'm a big Mii fan, and I wish that they had just stuck with the Miis. I think personally, just because I want to see Miis in more stuff. I love Miis, and I don't want them to go away. But I do like that you can play as your Mii. I think a big part of that is because my Mii looks exactly like me. I like nailed my Mii like back in the Wii days, and I haven't changed it ever since. And so it's like, or maybe it looks a little different now. I've got like longer hair and glasses, but it's like, but it's, I just like the idea of being able to put yourself into a game. So it's cool that you at least kind of have that ability. But yeah, I mean, I like the vibe. I like the music. I've always liked the Wii Sports.
Yeah, the music's great.
I will say though, if I'm going to compare it to anything, I think like, I still think, maybe we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I still think Wii Sports Resort is probably the best Wii Sports game. And that game really had a vibe and had an aesthetic, and it had the whole, we're on a island resort and everybody wore floral pattern shirts and shit, and it was like, and everything was kind of reflected in that, in the games that you would play, right? And all the mini games and the sports you would play. So it's like, I think it's a bit of a step back from that, if I'm being honest. But when comparing to like the original Wii Sports or like Wii Sports Club, I think that this is an improvement and gives it a lot more of its own identity.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't think I actually haven't played Wii Sports Resort. I don't know why. I never owned the game, and I think I was past. Maybe I wasn't playing as much Wii when it came out, because it was a few years later, I think, and I don't know why. I just never played it. And then the one on the Wii U, I honestly, until you mentioned it, I didn't even know it existed. So
yeah, nobody fucking does. That's because nobody had a Wii U.
I totally would have picked it up too if I knew it was a thing. But that's Nintendo's marketing in that era.
Great.
Maybe not the best.
Real quick aside on Wii Sports Club. Wii Sports Club had a very interesting pricing model. You could buy the whole game for I think $40, which is about the same here, or you could buy it. You could buy a 24-hour day pass to the game.
That's so weird.
Yeah, and it was like $1.99. And so it kind of made sense, actually, if you think about it, because like, if I'm going to a party, right, or I'm having a party at my house, and I know I'm only ever going to play Wii Sports with friends, then you just spend $2, and then you've got Wii Sports for the party, right?
Yeah.
So it's like an HD version with Motion Plus controls and all that stuff, right? So it's like I kind of almost wish there was something like that for this game, to be honest. The game almost feels more like a platform to me than it feels like a real game, like Wii Sports Club very much was as well.
You're right. Like it might not be a couple weeks or longer before I pick up this game again, just in those very specific situations. I'm not going to be playing online. Like I'd play with you, play an online game, but I just don't think I'm going to be hitting up the rankings and try and level up. When Strikers comes out, I'm going to be doing that there. But I think you make a good point of like, they could have gone down that route again, but I mean, maybe they felt like that. I guess they probably saw the financials of Club, and I know it's weird because the console didn't have the numbers and whatnot, but I guess that could be a reason why they chose not to go down that road. But realistically, it's probably because they just felt like they could have sold this like a hell. They could have made a lot more money just selling, like getting whatever the conversion rate is of how many people would have signed up for the 24-hour versus how many people are going to buy this.
I think people would have been pissed too, right? I think they would have gotten a lot of blowback from that. I think that it was not a very popular move that they did back in the Wii U days, and it's probably a big reason why, even amongst Wii U owners, that game did not do very well, right?
Yeah.
And so it's I think that just goes back though to them trying to recapture the Wii magic, the lightning in the bottle with the Wii U, and it just
definitely.
completely shot them in the foot, right? But I do think now that the Switch is a lot bigger of a success and there's a lot more units out there, I do think it's pretty cool that now is the time that they're kind of like going back to that casual market, trying to like recapture some of that stuff.
Definitely. In terms of the vibe stuff, I agree with you on the Miis. I love the Miis, and I would have liked them to say, and I not a big fan of the Pokemon like kind of characters in this one.
Yeah.
It's weird because they're like adults, but they all look like kids, and they're all like the exact same. I don't know. It's like I know the Miis are weird too, and we're just so used to them at this point. But
yeah.
I love a good Mii.
They're like
so.
heads and noses are all the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you can slightly change their eyes like a little bit, but it's really not a lot. I think most of what the customization comes from is accessories and stuff like that, right?
Right, which the customization, we'll talk about that later, I think, but you're kind of limited at the beginning of the game. You don't really have too much, even for like the hairstyles and stuff. I think there's like 5 hairstyles that you can pick at the very beginning of this. So you really got to work up to some of that stuff, and we'll talk about how you do that. But as well, like the music, I mean, I've always loved the music of all these Wii games, like even just the Wii Shop channel and all that stuff back on that era.
Classic
and I love
era
that I love that the one of the main tracks in Switch Sports is kind of a redone version of the original Wii Sports theme. Like, that's really cool. And I'm sure there's other little shout outs in the bowling and whatnot that I haven't picked up on yet because I haven't played it enough yet. But so far, like, all the music is really hitting.
The Wii Sports theme has been my ringtone on my phone for a really long time.
Nice.
It's just a bop, dude. It's a bop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's dive into these individual games. Is there one that sticks out? Do you want to talk about first?
I mean, I think they're all worth talking about. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. What do you want to start with?
Let's go into volleyball. So,
okay.
I don't think this one. You're kind of more the expert of these, the club and resort. So is volleyball completely new, or has it appeared in?
That's new. Yeah, nice. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's not in resort.
Nice.
But yeah, and it's kind of unique because I think it's at least the only net game where you can actually move your character left and right. It's a lot more complicated than badminton or tennis.
Well, I feel like that's a kind of a takeaway I've had in general with these is I feel like they've added like a lot more, maybe I shouldn't say a lot, but they've added depth to these games that the original versions didn't have. Like the first Wii Sports, as much as I love it, like you can kind of just spam your way through tennis and be completely okay. Whereas I feel like you have a bit more control over your character. You can't move around, but you can still choose front hand, backhand. But at least staying on volleyball for a minute.
Yeah.
I like the kind of 3 distinct movements that you're doing. I think that is a fun way to mix it up. And the spike, I found like it was a bit inconsistent, it felt at first, but it's because you have to like lift it up specifically and then like, swing it down. Like you can't just swing your arm wildly and be okay on that one. But I like that you kind of get bonuses if you get the timing right on all 3 of your strikes. I think that adds like a really good feel, and you can like jump early for the spike if you want. Like I feel like there's a lot of depth there.
Before you go back down. I really like too that it's got on the top of the screen, because there are distinct movements that you make. I like it. It's like up next you're gonna bump, up next you're gonna spike, right? And that is actually helpful because it's a lot to keep track of, and it's a game where in tennis, like if you're just playing by yourself, you're controlling both the guy at the net and the guy in the back. And so this one, it's like always going to be either a CPU player or another human player. And so it's like having that, because it's extra complicated, having that little kind of indicator of what's going to happen next, I found actually to be really valuable. I ended up actually really liking, I'd heard that volleyball was one of the weaker sports and that a lot of people did not enjoy it, but it's probably one of my favorites. I've been really enjoying it. And I had a friend over the other day. We were playing in person. It was a ton of fun when we played together. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've played some one-on-one against my girlfriend. Then awkwardly, like we've played with her friend. So we play like 3-player games for a lot of these, but I haven't done a lot of 2-on-2 yet. So I'm curious to see how like the tactics of playing volleyball with 4 people is going to be, because I think that would. It feels like it has a lot of depth. I love that you can block as well. Like that's a really
Yeah,
fun part of it
that
too, of
feels
trying to
so good to
get the
do.
position right and like the mind game of, okay, do I go early? Do I go late to try and block this? And when you get like 3 or 4 blocks in a row, oh, you just feel like a god. It feels so
It took
good.
me a bit to get it. It took me a bit to realize you have to like jump before they hit it. You can't like
Right.
jump to react to a spike. You have to like kind of
You have to see it
figure out
coming.
when they're going to hit it. And so I think that's also with that hang time you have when you're
Mm-hmm.
spiking, you can kind of wait for them to go down first and then spike it. Right. And
Yeah.
so it's like, it turns into this. Yeah. It's almost like a very strategic sort of situation. I really
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed that. Yeah.
I think my one con, and this is a classic thing Nintendo where they just have so few things in the options menu, is that there is like you mentioned that I like that kind of thing on the top of the screen, but there's also like nice or your timing was late. Like it'll pop up like right in the middle of the screen. I found like it blocks a lot of stuff and you just can't see what's going on because of these
Yeah.
timers to let you know if you got your timing right. There's so
Yeah.
much screen real estate where you could put that stuff. It does not need to be in the middle of the screen blocking like the
Yeah.
hot spot of the screen. So once again, like I really wish you could just turn that stuff off or change the screen or like where it goes on the screen or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get used to it as I play it more. But I found when I was just getting like playing the first couple of games, I found it hard to visually tell what exactly was going on sometimes because it was just covering too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a fair criticism.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a lot you can criticize about this game.
Yeah,
I
that's
really
fair.
enjoy it, but it's definitely not without its faults. Yeah, yeah.
Let's move on to tennis.
Sure.
So I'm a big tennis fan. I've played tennis a couple times in the last week. And so one
Like
change I really
IRL
like
or in game.
in real life,
Yeah, I
but then
also
also in
am an
game.
IRL tennis guy.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
nice. If we
yeah.
ever meet in person, we'll have to. I'll challenge you to some
Yeah,
tennis.
I'll come up to Vancouver. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, one change I really like, and I think tennis has maybe appeared again in club or resort or
Hmm.
something like that. But at least from the original Wii Sports, like I said, you can kind of swing around wildly and you're all good. But one thing I really liked is that whether you do a front hand or a backhand strike, it like will move your character. So if you're in a position where a backhand would make sense, but you do a front hand swing, your character kind of jumps over a
Yeah.
little bit, so you can actually get
Yeah, yeah.
that front hand swing. So I think that to me has added a lot in terms of how you can like be strategic about where you want to put the ball and
Hmm.
what kind of hit you want to do and what kind of angle you want. So that even just that one little change is really like all I needed for there to be. I feel like a lot more like mechanical intrigue in the game for me going back from Wii tennis back in the first game.
Yeah, I agree, and I think really tennis in this game is almost like a one-to-one port of Wii Sports Club tennis, right? Because
Okay.
Wii Sports Resort didn't have tennis, but it had table tennis. But
Oh
like the
right.
whole thing about Wii Sports Resort was that it required the Wii Motion Plus, right? So it wasn't just any movement counts as the same thing. It was
Mm.
actually one-to-one control.
Right.
You
Right.
could do this. And so they had table tennis in it, which was a blast in Wii Sports Resort. And then Wii Sports Club kind of took that Wii Motion Plus from table tennis and applied it to tennis from the original Wii Sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is very much that. And it's got, again, I do kind of wish you could move your own character around. I think that would add a level of
Yeah.
control that would be really nice. I get why they don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely more accessible this way. But I think, yeah, having that one-to-one kind of like it's a combination of the kind of stroke that you do and the timing, right?
Yeah.
And then whether or not you want, whoever's up rushing the net to hit the ball or let it go back.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really enjoy tennis in this. I mean, it's kind of the most unremarkable of them, just because we've seen
That's
it now
fair.
like
Yeah.
a million times. But I think it's also, it's a great pick up and play. Anybody can get what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
like especially if it's like you're at a party, like that's going to be a great one to play with people, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And next up, I was really curious how they were going to differentiate badminton from tennis. And I mean, it really does play like a completely different game as it should. But what do you think about badminton so far?
Oh, I love it. Badminton is like kind of quietly the best game in this game, right?
I
Like I
think I
think
agree. I think I agree
it's
with that.
there's other really good ones too, and I haven't really gotten that deep into soccer, but I hear
Hmm.
soccer can be really fulfilling the more you play it. But it's like badminton just feels so good. It's like out of all the games, that's the one that is like I was describing this to my friend as like, it's like playing the drums in expert mode in Rock Band. You know what I mean? Where it's like basically at that point you're just playing drums. You know what I mean? It's not like buttons and a little waggle thing like guitar. It's like basically just you could play drums in real life, right?
Definitely.
Like, I mean, I feel like all the movements you're doing, it's like the most one-to-one to the real life sport out of any of the games, right? And I think it just feels great. And I'm also a big badminton fan in real life.
Me too.
I love playing in real life, and it just the sound of the or like whatever as you like hit it, the shuttlecock like around it all just has this really, really great feel to it. And it's very simple. I don't even know if there's a tutorial on badminton. I think they're like, you'll get it. You know what I mean? It's like very simple. If it is, it's very short, right? But no, I'm really enjoying it. I love how easy it is to do drop shots. And then kind of, you know, the overhand versus the underhand, as opposed to like forehand and backhand in tennis. Kind of adds a nice variety there. But yeah, that one's super fun, and I'm looking forward to playing that one online a lot more, actually.
Yeah, I think that one to me seems like mechanically the most interesting, just with like the drop shot and how easy it is to aim your shot exactly where you want it to go, and you know, putting more power on your shot, or just the cadence of like sometimes the other person will just be like kind of spiking it at you over and over, and you're kind of on the defensive, but then you can get that one shot that's just out of the range, and then they have a weaker shot, and then you can kind of go in and strike. And like these longer rallies, it's like it just gets so heated, man. Like doing like sometimes you're going for like a couple minutes on one rally, and it's like I don't know, just so much suspense is building up. Of like who's gonna finally drop the ball here or drop the shuttlecock.
Totally. It's got a great risk reward too, because it's like the earlier you hit the shuttlecock in its arc, the faster and stronger it goes across, right? But also if you hit it too early, then you fall on your ass, and then you know what I mean? It's like you fall on your face, and then that's pretty much a guaranteed point for the other side.
I think I've returned that like once if I fell. Like it's really hard to do.
It's really hard to do. It's just that you take a long time like thinking about your mistakes on the ground before you stand up again.
I think, and this is not a criticism in any means, but I think this one just gets me so sweaty. Like it is tiring. And so while it'd be fun, I think it'd be fun. I know, I agree. I think this would be a fun one to like play against one person for like an hour and just get super deep in the mind games of it. But like, I could not do that. I'd be just exhausted, which, you know, is a good thing, but that was
we could all probably use a little bit more exercise. So.
And it if you've played for an hour straight, it says, hey, you've been playing for an hour. Do you want to take a break? Have you got that pop up yet?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think because I've been jumping around modes a lot, and so
I don't know if it's just the game or if it's. I'm guessing it's like overall if you've been playing just Switch sports, because I don't think we ever played 1 hour of the same thing. But at some point it was like, hey, you've been playing for a while. You should take a break maybe. And so I'm like, okay, I wonder what happens if you hit take a break, and it just takes you back to like the main menu, so you can just immediately keep going, obviously. But it is a good reminder.
Yeah, it bricks your Switch if you press it.
Oh God, that would be.
Oh, also, can I say one thing while we're talking about like weird messages that you get in this game?
Absolutely.
I hate that. So first of all, I never put on wrist straps, just because
they want you to
like
though. Oh my God.
Around. Yeah, and so much so that they force you to lie to the game. Like, have you noticed that? There's a point where it comes up. It's like attach your wrist strap, and it doesn't say like okay. It says attached. So it's like basically it forces you, if you are not actually attached, to say that you are attached, I guess for legal reasons. If you break a TV,
it probably is a legal thing. Hey, after all the images back in the mid 2000s of smashed TVs with Wiimotes in them, which
a streamer.
Thankfully, my hands don't get that sweaty, so I've never flung a Wiimote across a room or broken anything before. But
I like to lube up my hands before I play Switch.
Oh wow!
So, no.
Wow, I like to wear gloves. Yeah, I definitely get wear my tennis gloves.
I wear full body
my headband
when I play.
I think this one is probably one I have least to say about. But bowling, to me, this seems like the exact same as bowling back in the day. Like they added the challenge mode, which I think is fun. It's kind of like the wacky mini golf version of bowling, where there's walls in your way and bumpers moving around and things going up and down. So I like that. I think that adds just a little more complexity or something else to do. But I'm not going to say
online.
What's that?
I do wish you could do that online.
Oh, you can't. That sucks.
I think against random, you can when you're playing like in a private room, right?
Mm,
But when it's against just randoms and you're just doing it, I think it's just regular bowling. Yeah.
that's too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think like I think maybe my one thing with bowling is I remember back in the day, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but you like held a button and let go of the button to
Mhm.
throw the ball, and it took me a long time to figure out in this game you don't hit a button, you
Yep.
just throw it,
Yep.
and I almost don't like that because you could. I don't know if you'd really use it for strategy, but I think part of it was like releasing at the right time.
Yeah.
And once
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
going into the challenge mode, like, okay, maybe I can try and throw the ball over this first obstacle. Like, I think it could add something. So I don't really know why they simplified that. I don't think that's really necessary because it's not like it really, not like that adds depth, like too much depth, but it adds
Well,
enough for it to be intriguing.
I think enough people like had issues with that, like made errors where they would be like, "Oh, why can't I get the timing right?" Where they were like, "You know what? Let's just simplify this whole thing."
Mm-hmm.
Right. But then it ran into the problem where the whole generation of kids who grew up playing Switch Sports, or excuse me, playing Wii Sports,
Mm-hmm.
now are like, "Why the fuck am I dropping it every time?" Or like, "What is going? Why can't I bowl?" You know what I mean? And so there's no really good middle ground there. I think it's fine at the end of the day. I think
I mean, I've learned it now, and like it's not
yeah.
going to happen anymore. But it's just something I have to work out of my. Apparently, I still have that muscle memory from like a
Yeah,
decade ago
exactly.
somehow.
Same. And
Yeah.
I do think it's a bummer. I wish it was still you let go of it just because it adds a little bit of complexity onto what's a very simple game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the real standout here is playing this game online and the kind of battle royale version of bowling. I think that it,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. Have you done it
I
online
haven't
yet?
played any online.
Okay, yeah.
Not really what I was looking forward to in this game. Like that's just not something I'm looking for. But that sounds pretty cool.
I
Like the
gotta say
online mode.
that the online stuff is actually when you're playing against randoms, the online is really good, right?
Okay.
And it does this cool thing in bowling where it's 16 players and you're all bowling at the same time, right? And basically it's like a battle royale. So you do three um brackets. I don't know what you call bowling turns or
Yeah, I
whatever.
forget.
Uh,
Yeah.
but you do three of those, and then the top eight from that continue on, and the bottom eight are disqualified and they're done, right? And
Mm.
then you do it again, and I think it goes down to four, and then it's like down to three, and then there's a final round, right? And so it kind of like it's very much it's just they made a battle royale version of Wii
Yeah,
Bowling,
that's
basically,
cool.
right? And so
Yeah.
it's great. So if it's great for when you're playing online because then it's like, okay, if I just totally fuck up the first three rounds, I'm not going to have to just like sit through a 10-round game of bowling. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it really you're only still in the game if it's actually going to be possible for you to win, right? And so I think it's a good way to have done it, and it just keeps it snappy, and it's just fun to watch 16 people all bowl at the same time. Like it's actually a pretty cool way to
Nice.
approach it, I think. Yeah.
That's smart. Is there any other surprisingly online elements to it, like modes that work differently in the online version?
Tennis is like tiebreaker rules, so it's first to seven in tennis, right?
Okay.
Unless you get a deuce, and then it's kind of back and forth with advantages, right? But it's not like 15, 30, 40 love or whatever, it's not like that.
Mm.
And then what else? I think soccer is a little different, maybe. Um it's basically like when you're playing against friends in person, it's much more like the actual rules of the games that you're playing. And then these are like kind of like a bit shorter versions. Like I think
Well, I guess
badminton
with
is first to five.
soccer, you can like there's a 4v4 mode, so obviously you wouldn't be able to do that locally. So I guess
Right.
that's one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. With soccer, it's really like Rocket League. Like
Yeah.
it plays like we can move on to that if you want. I mean,
Let
but I
Yeah,
think
definitely
I
talk
think
about that
that's
next.
mostly what I have to say about bowling.
Okay.
Bowling is still very good. It's probably still one of the best games in
Hmm.
here, but it's pretty similar.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it when it comes to
Exactly.
bowling, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
Yep.
Yeah, so soccer next. You mentioned the Rocket League part. That's definitely what I felt as soon as I opened it up because, well, the ball is huge and it's
Mhm.
very floaty. But to me, I've only played this one a little bit, and it just felt like very slow paced for me in both the
I agree.
1v1 mode and the 4v4 mode. And I know if you like watch actual soccer, it is a very slow paced game of people just passing around before like there's actually exciting plays. But I feel like they should have made the course, what is it called? A field, I guess. Yeah, soccer field
Yeah.
is the word. I feel like they should have made it maybe half as big. Like maybe that's drastic, but somewhere in between there, and maybe that would have made it a bit more intense. Because I also like love kicking it off the wall and doing that kind of stuff and rolling it around the edge. Like that element of it is really fun, but it just feels like there's a lot of downtime, even in the 4v4 mode, which you would think that would at least speed it up. But then they make the field so big that it kind of feels the exact same.
I agree. I think half as big is a stretch, but I think like about 3/4 as big. I think would have worked, and just kept it a little bit more immediate. Had games be higher scoring than they are, because I know it does the thing where it's like the first 2 goals that you get are like worth 1 point, and then when it comes down to the third one, it's like points are doubled or whatever.
The
right?
golden
like
ball,
the golden ball, right? Yeah, and so it's like I think that if they kept it a little bit smaller and allowed for more scoring and less running around, that probably would be good. But I do think that this is one where it's just like, it's better when you play online, right? It just is. It's, when you're playing against real people and not the CPUs, because the CPUs suck in this game, right? Like, you know, I think like this game is not a great single player experience at all. But I think when you're actually playing online against randoms, like that's clearly the mode Nintendo is trying to push with this game, right? And I think for the most part, all of these games do play really well online, and soccer included. But yeah, it does move a little slow. I think you run out of stamina a bit too quickly. And like doing the headbutt takes up a huge chunk of your stamina, and then you're kind of fucked for like the next minute or something. Really,
I do love the headbutt though. That's super fun.
Yeah, I love you. It's like what Luigi does. In
Smash,
he just kind of falls forward.
The green missile.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's really fun. I think the directional kicking with the right Joy-Con actually works really, really well, better than I was anticipating. So much so that I have to like really think about what I'm about to do before I do it, because I'm kind of hardwired to just waggle. You know what I mean? But you really have to be deliberate with your motions, going up or down or left or right or even at diagonals.
Yeah,
right?
and that's cool too, because you have when you have 2 Joy-Cons, and it's like if you do a full kick to the left, like the angle is a bit different if you do that with your left or right Joy-Con, and maybe that's just like how I've been doing it or something, but it feels like you have a bit more like control that way too. And like after the tutorial's pretty much done, it's like, here, just do some practice shots, and there's like all these targets all over the place, and I found with like 100% consistency I was able to hit each one like exactly how you'd expect. So like I feel like they really nailed that down. And obviously the full movement and having to jump and everything, like it is the most involved in terms of movement than any of these other Wii Sports, or I shouldn't say all of them, but at least from Wii Sports that I've played.
It's definitely the sport I feel like has been given the most love and development, right? It's like they added the most. It's the one that feels the most like a full game, and so I'm interested to see like kind of how the meta evolves in this game, right? Like you know, and how like people rank up in this sport, because I think it's gonna get pretty like, I think there's gonna be a lot of tips and tricks videos we'll be seeing coming out about Wii Sports.
I definitely have to try a 4v4 online. My other question is, because I've only played this one single player, so that's probably maybe one reason why I do like it. I guess I just feel like it's probably not one I'm going to be coming back to, but obviously I've only played against CPUs, so I don't have too much to say on it. But it felt weird to me that in the options there was only 1v1 or 4v4. So if you have 2 people, like, and I guess that's the thing, on the main menu it says like 1 to 2 players. So like, can you just not do a 2v2 in this game? Like, that's really weird to me.
That's a good question.
I don't think you can, and then you also can't do like 3v3, which would obviously be an online thing. But I mean, when I play a lot of Rocket League. I love that game, and I love the 2v2 and 3v3 modes. Like I never really play the 4v4. Like 2 and 3 feel good. So obviously this isn't Rocket League, but still, those feel like a good number of people. It feels like a good number, and it's weird that they don't have that, especially 2v2. Like what's going on for like people playing at home? I know that maybe your screens would be small if everyone's moving around, I guess, but like, why not put it in there anyway and let people do it? I know maybe they'd have to make a new course or a new field with the size, but come on, that feels like a pretty easy thing to do.
There's lots of little things like that all throughout this fucking game.
Fair.
Like, you know, if you want to play, if you want to have your friend with you in person, play together online against randoms, that works great.
That's
if
nice.
You want to have a friend who lives, like, say you and I wanted to play against randoms, that's impossible, right?
Oh,
like,
that sucks.
We can make a private room and that's it. You can't party up and go out. And then there's also stuff with like soccer. It's like you gotta like you have to have like I think 8 people in a room or something if you want to do a full soccer game. It's like there's a bunch of like little weird
Yeah.
Nintendoisms that they do on
Mm-hmm.
all these fucking things, right? Like even Smash, has like major issues with the online. I'm partying
Oh
up
yeah.
with people and playing against people online. So it just wouldn't be a Nintendo game if even though it's like they're pushing the online, it's
Mm-hmm.
just got major holes in it, right? And yeah, and that's unfortunately one of the problems.
Yeah. They just need to give us more options. Like, let us
Yeah,
make the rules. Just give us that like ability to customize things. They are always so limited in that way. Well, I think
I
Smash
agree.
is maybe the one exception, but even then, like you're saying, the online's kind of
That's
weird.
that's
But
what I'm hoping for in Splatoon 3, but I'm not holding my breath,
yeah,
man. I tell you what.
we haven't talked about Chambara, which I believe this was in Resort or like sword fighting was. So this is
Yeah,
like a version of that. How close is this to the sword fighting?
it's pretty much the same. I think
Okay,
the
just a new
only
name.
I mean, sword fighting had another mode that was really fun in Wii Sports Resort where you would like fight a bunch of people as you're like walking down a thing. It was
Hmm.
kind of like this like just litany of dudes that would come up and you have to
Okay.
knock them all off. That was super fun. Unfortunately, that's missing from this game.
Hmm.
But Chambara, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, is basically a one-to-one recreation of the main mode of sword fighting in Wii Sports Resort. The only difference really being that there is now a time limit on it, right?
Hmm.
Like before, it was kind of just it could just go and go and go, and now there's a time limit. So it's like if you don't knock the person off, kind of sumo style, like you're supposed to in this, then it kind of does a draw, right? Which can lead to kind of a really cool like sudden death mode at the end if it
Oh,
ends up being
I
like
haven't had a sudden death happen yet. Interesting.
yeah if you both have one win and then the third one is a draw, or if any of the three is a draw and you each have one win, basically the big ring like will drop down into the water and then you're just on like a small ring and then it's really just
Hmm.
like 1 or 2 hits will end the game
That's
there.
cool.
Yeah, it's really
I don't
fun
know
when
about that.
it's really hype when it gets to that point,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah, yeah. But I love Chambara. I think it's
Hmm.
like one of the most strategic ones in the game. I think it's one of the most fast paced. Obviously, I think it's like the fastest sport, right, to like actually go through a round.
Sure.
And and yeah, it's just like you can really play some mind games with it, right? And like
Yeah.
and I like all the different kinds of swords too. I think having the charge sword is really great, and then the dual wielding blades where you can choose which one you block with
Hmm.
is super fun. And yeah, just trying to keep your sword perpendicular to where they're going, and then them at the last minute changing and trying to
Yeah.
strike you. It's just so fun. Yeah,
Yeah. In my notes, I wrote mind games down too because that was to
yeah,
me the most interesting part of it, and it took me a bit to get used to some of the controls because if say you're like holding your sword upwards to block and you want to do a horizontal strike, like you can't like move your sword. You can't like swing into a sideways hit. Like you have to just move your
yeah. You got to like
Joy-Con
quickly go
directly.
like that, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
like
so
tilts and
it took me a bit to get used to. I was like, this game is not registering my hits correctly, but then eventually kind of realized that, and it feels good now. But yeah, I love the mind games too. This is another one where I'd love to just play one person for like an hour straight and just see like the layers that we go down, and then probably cycle back to like a simple version of it. Like I just feel like there's a lot going on there, and once again the suspense to it, and I just like how overly dramatic it is. Like when you hit someone off, they're like, "Oh!" and like fall like
yeah,
slow motion and like crash
yeah,
into the water. I'd love to do that in real life. That just seems like a lot of fun.
yeah.
I mean, probably
Yeah,
like
just
you'd
get the
probably take
wind
a lot of
knocked out of you.
damage,
Yeah,
but I just feel
exactly.
like it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
Maybe not
love
like 20 feet in the air. Maybe like right at water level would be more my
oh, the higher
style.
up the better, fam. Let's go. Put my life at risk. No, but I agree, and that was something that people were saying in a lot of reviews. They were like, like, oh yeah, you can play as your me, but the sports mates are really way more expressive, and that's true. And the sports mates
Hmm.
do have a lot of like good facial animation, and they are very expressive. But also, dude, the me's like are too. Like when I'm playing as my me, whenever I'm playing Chambara, he's like. You could like his face is all fucked, and when he's falling off, like they change the expressions on the me's and stuff too. So it's still a lot of fun, and that one definitely has like the most like clippable moments, I think, out
Hmm.
of any of the games. It's just fun
Yeah.
to watch their reactions as they're falling. Yeah,
I
it's a
I haven't
blast.
had a chance to check out the different sword types, although I thought that was cool that they had that in there, as it doesn't seem like they needed to add it, but it's just cool added layer. It's can
Yeah,
you it doesn't seem like you can set the amount of rounds to win. Can you
I
customize that? It
I
seems like it's
don't
only a best of 3.
I don't think so. And it's like, unlike you, I think the majority of my time that I've been playing has been online, right?
Right.
So it's like when you're playing online, it's just 3, right? But I do know that when you're playing locally or with friends online, you have a lot more control. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's just 3 rounds. It's just like a short thing.
Yeah, because it does feel a bit like a little bit too short, and I mean I think it's fine to have
Sure.
it as a default, but I'd like to up that to a best of 5. So I
Yeah.
didn't see it in there, but maybe it is possible. I haven't
Or a
bumped
best
around
of
with it.
3 best of 3s, right? I think like if you had
Right.
like, you know what I mean? If it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you get what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. Yeah, kind of got a home route a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about some of the other games coming or what we expect to come, but one thing that seems kind of missing to me is the training modes. And I know there's like a soccer kick out mode, which I don't think it lets you unless you have the leg strap, or I guess you could lie about having the leg strap. I don't know what the deal is there.
Yeah, you can just rubber band that shit to your
It's
leg
like
if you need
crossed
to.
out, so I don't know what's going on there. I guess
Yeah.
if you does it maybe not let you if you have the game digitally? That would be annoying.
No,
as
it does.
Fuck. Okay.
It does because I mean I have a leg strap from We Fit, right? Or just not We Fit, from Ring Fit Adventure.
Okay.
And so it's like, you know, I've got it, and they said, you know, if you have Ring Fit Adventure already, you already have one, right? So it's
okay.
That would be bullshit though if that were true. I haven't tried it.
It is
actually,
grayed
so
out
I
on my
can't
screen,
really
but I
say
haven't
it.
actually tried to click it, so I don't know.
Oh no, okay, you can. So there's a thing when you're setting up lobbies online. There's a thing for like voice chat that seems grayed out, but then as soon as you click it, it just is not grayed out anymore. So I think it's just a weird UI thing.
It's like you have to click it once for it to activate.
Yeah, you just have to press it. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, going like the training part, I don't remember all of what they were in original Wii Sports, but I remember the tennis ones were really fun. Of you have to hit these targets, or like how many can you hit back in a row, and it doesn't seem like there's really any of that in this game, which I don't think is like that big of a deal because you're going to be playing this game in multiplayer, whether that's co-op or split screen or online. But I mean, I still would like to have some of those modes in there just to mess around.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I mean, let's get real. This game is lacking in features. You know, like I mean, this game. That's why I kind of in my head I'm thinking of this more as a platform for these games than as its own full game. Like Wii Sports Resort. That felt like a great value, dude. There's lots of stuff in there, and even in the original Wii Sports, right? Like you're saying, they had those modes. I think a lot of that stuff is missing from this game, and it's a disappointment for sure. You know, I think that they're replacing that with the idea of online focus, right? And it's like, and when you play online, you get points, and when you get points, you get customization options, right? And that's kind of the hook that they're trying to replace that with. But it's disappointing, man, because I think a lot of people are like you. They're only going to want to play this game in like a local or solo setting, and it's just not made for those kinds of people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I
don't know if there's too much to say about this, but the customization I've seen, this is maybe a bit controversial, that the kind of different costumes and things like that are locked to online only. So once again, going into what you're talking about of the online focus, I know you play a lot online, so maybe it's not an issue, and personally, I don't really care that much if I have a hat on my character or not. Like it's nice, but like it just doesn't make too much of a difference for me. But how do you? I feel like they should at least have it in there. You can unlock this stuff in single player, or if you only. I
agree. Yeah, they should. And and it's not even online. Like if you have a private lobby with friends, you don't get it either. This is only against randoms. It's like in the normal online that you actually unlock stuff. So again, that's another way they're trying to kind of funnel you into this mode, right? You know, I agreed at first, you know, and I play as my me generally because I just like having a big stupid head that looks exactly like me. But it's like, you know, any of the accessories or customization that affects anything above the neck doesn't work if you're using a me, right? It's just stuff below the neck, right? So like the kinds of weapons you're holding, or weapons, you know what I'm saying? The rackets. So you
do have a Chambara sword. That's a weapon.
Oh yeah. If you play online, you can have a gun in tennis. It's pretty cool.
Whoa.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's like, you know, that I didn't think I cared that much about it. And then I was playing against somebody in tennis, and the drip was just so strong on this character. like she had like a cute little like skirt on, and she had this like gray ponytail thing she unlocked, and a backpack, and these like glasses, and I was like, damn, that's actually a really cool look, you know what I mean? And so it made me kind of jealous, and it almost makes me want to play as Sportsmates more, just because like I feel like eventually, you know, they're doing them timed, right? So it's like the first one is kind of like a week, and then the second one is like 2 weeks, whatever, of
Hmm.
the packs that you can unlock from. And so it's like, I think over time, there's going to be a lot more of that customization that comes out, and it's going to make playing online a lot more interesting because you'll be seeing a lot
Okay.
more variety. Yeah.
How do you feel about the, I guess the progression in terms of like how do you feel like it's if you play one game, do you unlock something? Like how much do you have to play to actually get stuff?
It's kind of like every 3 games, really, that you
Does
unlock
it does it
something.
feel
So
good or does it feel like you would
I think it
expect
feels
it to go
fine.
out? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I think if you're playing random and you're just going through like over 2 hours, you can unlock almost everything. You know what I mean? So it's
Sweet.
like, I think, I think the timing thing is weird because it's like if you don't play during that time, you're just gonna lose out on those items forever.
Yeah,
Like
which
it's
is too bad.
yeah, but again, I think it's just a good, if they're looking for a reason to bring people back to the game, I think that's a good way to do it.
Hmm.
I'm a fan personally. I think it's fine. It's got a little bit of gachapon mechanics where it's like you kind of pick from different collections and then it randomly
Mm,
selects which one. But
I see.
I don't think it ever duplicates
Oh,
the
that's
reward
good.
that you get.
Yeah,
So I think you're good on that. But no,
cool.
I like it, to be honest. I think it's a
Hmm.
good system.
So when they announced this game, they said that golf is coming down the line. I think they said this year, like maybe September,
Fall, I think they
fall.
said.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, golf is coming, which I'm happy about. I like I don't really like golf, but I like golfing games. I like
Same.
Mario Golf
Yeah,
Super
yeah.
Rush. When they added Mario Golf on the N64, I tried that out. Golf
Neo
Story. I'm
Turf
a big fan of
Masters.
golf
You ever
games.
play that?
What? No, haven't
Neo
played that
Turf
one.
Masters? It's the shit. Yeah, it's an arcade game. Neo Geo game.
Yeah, nice. I'll go back and check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, golf's coming. I'm excited about that because yeah, just a new course is fun. I like golf. It always was one of my favorites in Wii Sports. And yeah, I hope they add like a golf mini golf to it. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath, but I would also like that.
I'm
Yeah,
not holding
yeah.
my breath. I'm just saying it would
Yeah.
be fun. But yeah, I don't know any thoughts on golf.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for them to add golf. I don't know how it's
Mhm.
going to work online, if at all. But yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like golf is missing from this, right? I mean, and so I
Nope.
think them adding that in is good.
Hmm.
Um, and don't give me this BS about Mario Golf just came out on N64 or Super Rush or whatever, right? Because I mean, you got Mario Tennis on N64 and Mario
Hmm.
Tennis on Switch, and we
Yeah,
have tennis on this game. So, I think it's just
there are different
like
versions. Yeah,
I think like I've got kind of a theory on all this, and I don't know if you want to get into the weeds on that real quick, but I think it's
I
like,
do. But let me just say for golf,
yeah, sure.
real quick. I don't even remember what I was going to say. Never mind. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's all
Hope that
good.
wasn't my fault. But I think, see, I think for me, I think what they're doing here is I don't think that it's like this mode wasn't ready to go. I think they're purposefully holding it back, right? And I think here it's like a $40 game, and I think that it's coming in the fall, which what I kind of see when I hear that is like basically, okay, we're gonna be getting golf in the fall, and then as that drops, they're gonna be like, hey, also here's more games. Here's boxing, here's baseball, the missing games
Mm,
from Wii Sports, right?
yeah.
Here's maybe some other games from Wii Sports Resort, and they're gonna add them in as paid DLC to round out that $60 price tag,
Mm,
or it's included in expansion pack, right?
right.
As like extra games. And I think that that's like, I can see them doing that for a couple reasons. I think people are gonna, it's like, oh, it's cheaper, and so now because we've talked about this on the episode that you were on Switch Heads,
Hmm.
where it's like it kind of rubbed me the wrong way that Mario Golf and Mario Tennis were released kind of unfinished, but for $60. And then they really felt like $40 games that eventually became $60 games,
Mm,
right? I think that what they're doing here is kind of the opposite. I think they're releasing this game for $40. They're going to have about $20 worth of DLC that's going to come out like over, time, right?
hmm.
Or later in the fall with golf or whatever, right? And golf will be kind of like, hey, here's the thing. Also, hey, remember this game? You probably stopped playing it by now, but here's golf, and then we also have all these new games, right? That's kind of how I feel like they'll do it eventually. It just kind of makes a lot of sense for me in that way with the timing, but I
I
could be
think
wrong, but
no. That seems like a
maybe we just get golf and it's just $40 forever, right? But it just
that,
doesn't feel that
that
that's
sounds like
going
a
to be the
sound
case.
theory, and I think. I mean, them adding Splatoon 2 DLC to the online service seemed really weird to me. Like all
Mm-hmm.
this time later to just kind of add that on there, it seems like that's something they want to keep doing is consistently having more things that they can show on that splash image of
Yep.
like, here's what all the things you get access
Yeah, it's
to
just
if you
like,
buy into this
"Brrr."
extra thing. So
Yeah.
I think that theory sadly makes sense because I would not be too happy to have to buy more of this stuff. I mean, I do have the online, so I guess it would be kind of included at that rate, but
Yeah.
that would
Yeah.
rub me
Yeah.
the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna happen, dude. I mean,
Mm.
I think also it's gonna be something that they want to include because I can also see them because they've just been doing for Black Friday. They've just been doing the Mario Kart bundles, and that's it. They've been doing that for 5 years now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's every holiday. That's part of the reason why there's so many fucking copies of Mario Kart 8 out there, But that's not the only reason. Everybody I know who
Mm-hmm.
gets a Switch buys that
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
right? I've seen so many friends in the past like 3 months buy that game. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, here's the proof in the pudding, right? But I
Yep.
think this holiday you've got an opportunity to try to capture that geriatric gamer market that they
Yeah.
did so well with the Wii by releasing, a bundle of, Switch and Switch Sports, and then maybe it comes with like a month of expansion pack or an expansion pack trial,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, oh, okay, well, here are all these other games, and then they're playing it and they're having a ton of fun with this pack-in game, and then it goes away, and they're like, oh, okay, well, I better re-up my subscription so I can keep these games again. So I think that's part of the reason why I think that this is the method they're going to be doing, and I could be totally wrong on that. That's totally speculation. I don't have any insider knowledge, but that kind of just seems like they're setting it up for that to me.
Was there footage of golf when they showed it, or was it just an image?
Yeah, they showed footage of it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it would seem weird.
I think they
to
got
me
it in the bag
like,
already.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that to some extent. I think that would make sense for them to do that. I remember what I was going to say about golf, which is that you mentioned like how is that going to work online? And I think they did this in Mario Golf Super Rush where they added like simultaneous, so everyone shoots at the same time, right, rather than having to wait turns. And then we forgot to mention this too, but bowling added that, which maybe they've added that over the years, but the original Wii Sports didn't have that. But I think that's great.
This is the first game they've done it.
Nice.
I think you're totally on the money. I think that's how they're going to do it in golf as well. That's a good call.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
Holes.
Speeds it up quite a bit as well. So I really liked that addition to bowling, that you can go through a couple rounds much quicker than having to wait around for especially if you have 4 people, it could like take quite a bit of time.
Yeah, agreed.
I really want to see baseball. That was another one of my favorites. Maybe my single favorite one from Wii Sports back in the day.
Yeah, it's a blast.
And I think they could definitely do some more to add even more depth to it with different. Maybe you like, rather than just the Mii's running by themselves, maybe you could choose they can like steal bases or be aggressive. I don't know. You could add a little bit more depth there. But I think even if it's just copy pasted from Wii Sports as it was, I think I'd be totally okay with that too.
Yep. Unfortunately, Wii Sports Club had a great mode where you could use the. We got it back there. I guess I won't pull it out, but the Wii pad whenever you're catching. To like look up at
that's cool,
and you would like catch it as it's coming down.
That's neat.
Wii Sports Club actually had some really cool golf. You would put the gamepad on the ground and you would like see the ball on the ground as you would hit it. So there was all these little things that were really gimmicks, but for baseball, it really made the game a lot deeper and felt a lot better. In pitching, you use the gamepad as well. But but yeah, I think that would be great to see. I think obviously boxing would be really easy to do.
That was the one in Wii Sports I didn't really care for, but I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know if I'd even play it if they like. I'd probably check it out once, but not my cup of tea personally.
I'd enjoy it. I mean, I'm also a big ARMS fan. I really enjoyed ARMS. So I think if they just brought in a couple of the movement options from ARMS into that as well, I think that'd be great. And just kind of, it's like a closer quarters ARMS, right? I think that would be awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see a couple other things from Resort as well. I think archery was one of the best games in Wii Sports Resort. I think also, I mean, if they're using the leg strap, you could add in functionality to use the ring con, right? Like that would make too much sense. It's just like would be perfect, right? Like
that's cool. Yeah, I like
use the motion with the Joy-Con in the ring con, and then the pressure of that to actually shoot. I think that would be amazing if they were able to do that. You don't have to have it like that. You could just play with 2 Joy-Cons, but if you wanted to, maybe they could have that be a mode. Frisbee was one of my favorite games from Wii Sports Resort as well. I don't know how they would really necessarily implement it, but like Frisbee was a ton of fun.
Was it like ultimate Frisbee?
No, it was like a little dog. So there's like a little dog out
Hmm.
there. So you would like throw it out to a certain area, and the dog would have to like jump up and catch it.
All
Or
right.
there was like a mode with balloons. You'd have to try to kind of arc it out to where it would hit all the balloons. That was a super fun game. Basketball was in Wii Sports Resort, but I didn't really
Mm.
like basketball, to be honest. So I'm okay if that doesn't come back. but yeah, I think that, and then I think there'll be games that we haven't seen in any of these prior games as well. If we do
Hopefully.
get an additional pack, I'd like to be surprised by some stuff too, if that
Mm.
is the path that they're going to be going down with this.
Yeah. How many games do you think is realistic? We know golf's coming. How many games do you think they would like if they were to try and justify that $20 price point? Like, do they have to then add 3 games? Is that like I don't know? I guess that would technically equal out if you look at it per game per sport.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wii Sports Resort had like 12 games, right? So, really I'd like it to get to that point,
Mm.
like another 6, right? I don't know if that's going
Yeah.
to happen, right? I mean, I want it to, but I don't know if that's going to happen, especially for 20
Mm.
bucks. But it's like I don't know, we'll see. I think
Yeah.
I will say though, I mean, if this is it and they aren't adding updates to this game down the line, I'd say it's a little disappointing, man. I think
Mm.
it's, I'm enjoying it. I'm having a ton of fun, but just knowing what we've had in the past, and Wii Sports was a free game when it came out,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's like, and this is missing features from that, right? So it's like, if this is it and they're not really adding any more games, I do think it's a bit of a missed opportunity to have 3 of the games be net games, right? Which are all great and I enjoy them, but they're
Mm-hmm.
all decently samey, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know if golf is enough for me to feel like the whole thing feels like a complete package. I think it would need some additional stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I'm a Wii Sports guy and feel like, oh, we already got more than that game, so it feels like we got a lot in here. But you're right. Like Resort was kind of loaded, so
Yeah.
they've definitely come far since then, and
Yeah.
feels like maybe they're taking some steps back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there's lots of room for improvement, and I think there are like, if you look at the actual world, there's like kind of docks on it, you know what I mean? And there's a spot that looks like a baseball stadium, you know what I mean? It's kind of in the corner that's not being used, so that could very well be baseball. I think that if the golf course is on another area that you get to by boat, I
Yeah.
think you could put some other sports in that other island or whatever
Right.
around there too, right? So I think that it's very possible. I would expect it personally, but
Mhm.
only time will tell. And
Yeah.
Nintendo is famously cagey about this kind of shit. So
They are, but we can look forward to golf at least. Do you have any other thoughts on this game before we close out here?
no, man. I mean, I think we covered a lot. To be honest, I mean,
Yeah.
there's probably stuff I could think of, but I think all in all, I'm a little disappointed in. I wish it was more fully featured. You were talking about I forget the game you were talking about, the Island Builder, or what was the game you were talking about earlier, the indie game?
Dwarf Romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how you're talking about, that game has like a lot of modes, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
not, there's not that much to the game necessarily, but it's like adds, anytime you add in another mode, it's like kind of squaring the amount of time that you can play, or doubling
Yeah.
at least, right? And so I really do wish that there was more little fun features. It'd be fun if you'd be able to walk around the campus of this place, right? I think Wii Sports Resort and Wii Fit and stuff like that had um what's it called, Woohoo Island,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of its own living, breathing place that you could just explore. You could just fucking free roam around. You could fly
Hmm.
around it in Wii Sports Resort, right? And so it's like, I think stuff like that added into this game would really make a lot of the shortcomings of the rest of the content feel
Yeah.
like less of a hard pill to swallow. But at the end of the day, I mean, I knew what I was getting for the most part when I got into this. It was like,
Definitely.
even if it's just these 6 games and I can play with my friends and I can play online, like I feel like I have my money's worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you just have to go in with the right expectations. And again, I think it's probably best to think of this game as a platform than a game, right? And
Mm-hmm.
just think of it as I have this, so if I ever want to just like have some casual fun with people, I can. I'm not going to put 100 hours into it by myself. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Although I
Yeah.
might with online. We'll see. I'm still kind of early in it, right? But I'm having fun. So
Yeah, I'm not feeling at all like I wasted my money on this one, or I wish I got it physical so I could return it. Like I'm happy with my purchase. It's one that I probably won't play super often, but I will always know what I'm getting into when I do get to it. And yeah, hopefully more comes from golf. But even if it's just golf, I think I'm pretty happy with it. But maybe I'm being too lenient on Nintendo. But at least I don't know. That's where I'm sitting at today. But we'll see how that changes over time.
I will tell you this. A lot of people were kind of doom and gloom about this game as far as sales were concerned. They're like, they're overestimating the Wii nostalgia and all that kind of shit. This game's going to do numbers, man. This game is going to do fucking numbers. Yeah. I guarantee you. I think it's going to be one of the highest selling games on the Switch. I think it's already outpacing Ring Fit Adventure, which has done incredible on the Switch. So I think especially if they do a pack-in this Black Friday with this game, I think not only is this thing going to sell copies of the game, I think this is going to sell new Switch sales as well.
Yeah, I could see them doing a bundle. I really hope that the success of this game doesn't, if it is, well, still wait to be seen if that's going to be the case. But I really hope it doesn't dwarf Mario Strikers. I know there's soccer in here and they're very different games, but they are coming out pretty close together if you think about a Nintendo sports game. So I don't care. I'm picking up Mario Strikers either way, and I'm gonna have some friends picking up. I know.
Probably am too. Yeah.
I'm excited. We'll play some online, but I really hope that this game doesn't kind of take the wind out of the sails of that game, because I'm really looking forward to that one in the online of that game in particular.
I think that I don't think that it will. I think
they're different enough. Yeah.
Well, I don't know that Strikers was ever going to be as successful as like tennis or golf anyway. But I think that I don't think that they're different kinds of experiences, right? Like you're getting a lot, like you can have actual football clubs and stuff like in Strikers, right? And so it's a lot more of a hardcore experience with a very different aesthetic, and I wouldn't count it out, man. I think this is going to be the highest selling Strikers ever, just like how
I think that
was the
that
biggest
for sure.
selling one on Switch so far. So I'm not too worried about Strikers. I think Strikers is going to do okay. I think everybody is pretty sour on FIFA right now too, so that's going to help.
Oh yeah, that'll help. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, David, it was so nice to finally have you on the podcast. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.
Of course.
A shout out to the whole GeekVerse crew.
Yeah, and so Super Switch Headz, you guys release episodes every Wednesday. And then is there a consistent schedule for Playing It Wrong? Like, does that release on a specific day, or is it kind of just depending on how they are recording them?
So they do. So Patrick, Playing It Wrong is like a side podcast where they play through the Nintendo Switch Online classic games. It's Patrick and this guy named Ant Keeps Gaming from England, and they've done 2 seasons now, and each season is 10 episodes. And so whenever they're like kind of in a season, they'll do every week on, I think, Fridays. They put those out, right? But I think they're currently on a break right now.
Okay.
But they'll be back probably in a few months, and then whenever that comes back, those will be kind of consistent schedules as well. But we're talking about doing a lot more side podcasts and stuff like that, and live streams, and we maybe have a Patreon coming up soon. We're still figuring out all the financials on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. Definitely tune in if you enjoyed my bloviating on Switch Sports.
Super Switch Headz every Wednesday, and David, you can be found on Twitter or on Twitch at Monolith Fiji. So yeah, thank you so much for you. If people want more discussion of this game, your episode this week I think is going to be, this is the main topic, right? Switch Sports, I'm guessing. So kind of more discussion there.
We're going to be talking about. Yeah, I don't know that we'll go into so much detail about every sport like we did on this one, but I think probably a lot more into some of the speculation on where we think some of this might land, whether we think this was a good idea to abandon the Wii or Me models and stuff like that. I think we'll probably get into a lot more of the big picture stuff.
Cool.
So definitely tune in this week. We've got a great guest for that this week as well, so I'm excited for that.
Awesome. Okay, well, that'll be it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see everyone next week to talk about some more video games.
Very good.
Later.